Do you want to talk about lump sum?
A study showed that 62 cents of every dollar spent for benefits is actually valued by the employees. If you think of the typical rule of the 80-20 rule, that 20% of the population is going to drive 80% of the claims. So as you keep your deductibles low or you offer these rich benefits, not everyone's going to value or gain from that type of decision-making tools. So by shifting the pendulum to a defined contribution versus a defined benefit, this allows the employees to customize and tailor a plan specific to their lifestyle, their risk tolerance, and their needs. So now you're shifting that from the employer down to the employee level. And today's environment, a great analogy I heard from one of my colleagues last year was, today's environment is telling people that you need to drink 5 gallons of milk. Whether you drink or not, we're going to give you 5 gallons of milk in today's benefits program. Well, I may be a 28-year-old male, single, have no medical concerns, and you're giving me 5 gallons of milk. I may not need 5 gallons of milk. Or I could be 28-year-old male, married, with 2 kids, and maybe my family only wants 3 gallons of milk. So I'm basically pouring down 2 gallons of milk down the drain. So in this environment, in essence, I get a pick that I only need 1 gallon of milk or 3 gallons of milk for my family, but I'm going to get some vegetables and fruits. And that's the idea around the defined contribution versus defined benefit. So here is an example of doing a lump sum. There's different ways to slice and dice it, but where an organization is going to give, or an employer is going to decide and say, we're going to give X dollars to you to purchase your benefit needs. And it could be in the tune of, let's just throw out a number, of $4,000 for your medical spend and $1,000 for your ancillary non-medical benefits. That could be dental, life, disability, cancer, accident, pet insurance. There could be so many different variables that is put onto to the platform. So, it just really is going to now allow the employees to find the plan that fits their needs. And you can scale that differently around, if I cover, if I have a family of 2, maybe that 4,000 jumps to 6,000, or maybe jumps to 8,000 if I got a family of 3 or more. So there's ways as an employer can really create a lump sum benefit, and you're now exiting out of the insurance business, getting your employees to make these financial decisions. And Michael alluded to technology. We talked about millennials. How many millennials want to sit in an hour benefits enrollment meeting looking at paper? Most of them want to go online, figure it out themselves. Through decision-making tools, through decision-making supports, they have access to guidance and support through that process. And that's kind of the model we're talking about from a defined contribution.
The other option is you essentially do the same calculation as number 1, but then you split the funding between the health, dental, and ancillary coverage using this below example where you're going to essentially pay 80% of the health care and then allow the employees to use 20% of the remaining dollars to purchase items that they want, whether it's life insurance, disability insurance, maybe funding an HRA, a healthcare reimbursement account, or funding a healthcare savings account, or even funding things like post-retiree healthcare, Avima or Aviva, for example, would be another opportunity where you're essentially providing them dollars that they can put away for post-retiree healthcare as well. Another option is you give and again, our goal is to essentially get CFOs and directors of HR out of the employee benefits business and put it into a system where they don't have to manage it on a day-to-day basis. CFOs do not want to be in the employee benefits business, and HR people don't want to be in the employee benefits business. So this takes that essentially responsibility off them and puts it into an onboarding platform. So the third option is really just tiered funding, where you give single employees X, people with 2 people in their household Y, and then you give essentially employees with family Z. But obviously trying to keep your annual budget within your fixed dollar amount. But at that point, you're giving people what they really need. Another way to do it is tiered allocation. So essentially, you provide, an example would be going back to how we did it in number 3, and then you essentially say, okay, we're going to give everyone, let's say, $10,000 or $4,000 or $8,000, as opposed to just saying, for example, we're going to give everyone 5. What we've noticed is that there's been a move from with the Affordable Care Act, a move from adding medical plans, you have now, instead of having one medical plan, you now have two medical plans. With using this process, you can now have 6 medical plans. And so you can say, okay, we're going to give everyone $5,000, and then they're going to maybe purchase up an additional $5,000 worth of benefit. So using a healthcare savings account, they can put money into a healthcare savings account. You can fund an HRA with that $5,000 that you're going to allocate towards them.
And Michael, so this kind of, for those of you who've been around for a while in the employer spaces, this kind of reminds you of the 80s and 90s, the cafeteria type plans. Does that kind of ring a bell? So it's not something that's newly invented, but we kind of got away with it in the entitlement of healthcare, where we had to have these co-pays and we had to have these large expanded networks. And it's kind of shifting the pendulum back to what we're doing in the 80s and 90s from a healthcare perspective, from a cafeteria perspective. And I think you're going to see, and we'll be talking about it, I think, as the presentation goes on, but shifting from more of those, regional, national type networks down to more skinnier networks or leaner networks, and really trying to create consumerism where people are going to have to keep the integrity of the plan by making, becoming better consumers and better purchasers of the products.
As Jason alluded to, one of the issues is with, for example, Blue Cross Blue Shield of Texas. On an individual basis, Blue Cross Blue Shield of Texas for January 1st got rid of, accessing Baylor on an individual plan. So what we saw was at the end of 2014 and 2015, employers scrambling that had initially dropped their medical plan to add a medical plan based upon whether it's the owner of the company or the top management realizing, hey, we need to add a medical plan in order to provide our employees access to care. I think you're going to continue to see from an individual plan basis that a lot of these large medical providers, whether it's Humana, United Healthcare, or Blue Cross, continuing to drop or not do business with the largest providers of healthcare in the state of Texas. And so a rapid shift is underway where you're going to see group medical plans really be the future of healthcare, because the employer is going to need to be able to provide that in order to be able to, the employee is going to need to be able to access care through the employer, because the employer is going to have access to the larger benefits market with the health insurance carrier. On an individual basis, in the state exchanges are losing access to the largest carriers, and the largest carriers, as they start to scale down their networks, you're going to see people move away from state exchanges, try to move into group medical plans, instead of having individual plans move to the group medical plan. So in the public exchange on the left-hand side, they expect that this number is actually probably closer to about 5 to 6 million people that are enrolled in the public exchange. By 2018, they expect this number to be 31 million. I think that's high. I think that probably it's going to be closer to probably 20 to 25 million. In 2014, in private exchanges, so for example, Aon's running their own private exchange. They use one with Walgreens. There's about, as of today, there's about 6 million people enrolled in private exchanges. By 2018, they expect, and this is from Accenture, they're expecting 40 million people enrolled. We have approximately 100,000 people enrolled in our private exchange. I think this is an aggressive number. I think that this number will probably be somewhere around probably about 20 million people enrolled in private exchanges, would be my guess. So what's the difference between a public exchange and a private exchange? So the public exchange is anything state or federal government, and it's essentially small group only under 20 employees. Now, the vast majority of y'all are part of organizations that have 50 or more. So a public exchange wouldn't be the right play for your organization. The health plan options are defined by the government. As I said just a couple minutes ago, what we're seeing is organizations and companies that insurance companies peel away from the health plan options that are available on the public exchange. And so again, we really think there's going to be a flight back to employers providing medical plans in a larger manner. So the ACA has created opportunity for us. Ancillary benefits are limited, and government subsidies are available, however, only to small employers. In the private exchange model, the controlling entity is the company or the insurance company. Again, defined benefit to defined contribution, defined contribution, defined benefit. The organization, the company would provide a fixed dollar amount, so for example, $10,000, and then the employee goes online and purchases benefits as needed. So for example, ancillary benefits might be life, disability, crazy stuff like pet insurance, for example. So why private exchanges? We're a believer that online is really the way to roll out your employee benefits program. It's more effective. Cell phone, tablet, computer, better, cheaper, faster. It gets the HR person, it gets the CFO out of the employee benefits game and really into doing what you do on a daily basis that doesn't include managing the employee benefits. More robust user support. The better risk selection profile, as Jason mentioned, it's really about engaging the millennial. It's really about engaging your people. One of the things that we find that you're driving down 75, you're driving down the tollway, and it drives me crazy, is it says, Baylor Medical Center, this center for the ER, 3-minute wait, right? Or a 5-minute wait or a 15-minute wait. That makes me nuts. If you have to go to the emergency room, you don't care about the wait, or you shouldn't, right? You're going to get in there and they're going to rush you in. There needs to be a change within how people utilize healthcare. There needs to be a shift to consumerism. We think that that's the direction that it should go. I don't know what the tipping point is going to be. I don't know what the ACA with the Cadillac tax going, which has now been pushed out to possibly 2020, depending upon what's going to happen in the election. But there needs to be some kind of tipping point. I don't know what that's going to look like in the next couple of years, or what it should look like.